Now, before I take questions, I would like to address an extremely dishonest narrative that we've seen emerging over the past few days. Many outlets in this room have been fear-mongering the American people into believing there is a constitutional crisis taking place here at the White House. I've been hearing those words a lot lately. But in fact, the real constitutional crisis is taking place within our judicial branch, where district court judges in liberal districts across the country are abusing their power to unilaterally block President Trump's basic executive authority.
Because Trump bad. Trump bad.
So can I ask you a question?
What do you have? Go ahead. No, that's enough. Go ahead.
Can I ask? But that wasn't my question.
The problem is you don't write the truth. So, as far as I'm concerned, I want to go to the next
Can I ask you a question about...
No, not CNN, please. Go ahead.
The White House has not responded to these allegations.
I told you. CNN is fake news. Don't talk to me. Go ahead, please.
But he says he was retaliated against, and that's why he was removed from his job. Do you have a response to that?
Okay, next question.
Mr. President, I have...
Nigga, did you know that I can see you?
Who is the most masculine Democrat right now in America? Mayor Pete?
Is that a gay joke?
No. Mayor Pete. No. Well, no, it's just that he's not particularly masculine. Nobody's like, oh, Mayor Pete, he's a badass. Chuck Schumer? Is anybody like, hey, Chuck Schumer holding up an avocado and a beer to talk about the Super Bowl? Is anybody like, hey, that's a dude I want to hang out with?
But Trump's like a grandpa.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Trump took a bullet in his ear and immediately stood up and said, fight, fight, fight. Every man in America and most of the women out here were impressed by that, even if the women won't admit it. She's shaking her head strong. And second part of this, basically summing it up, Democrats for men are pussies and Republicans aren't.
Democrats for men
are pussies. There are no masculine men in the Democrat Party right now.
I mean, we just want volunteers, not hostages. At this point, because,
I also find it rich that all of the sudden the other side has some problem with successful businessmen being involved in politics whenever you guys are the party of George Soros, of Bill and Melinda Gates, of Sheryl Sandberg, of Mackenzie Bezos, of Taylor Swift, of so many other billionaires across the country, as well as every woke, weird pervert in Hollywood. I find this incredibly disingenuous. I think the reality is that the Republican Party under President Trump has a very clear mandate from voters, and you guys don't like it because voters rejected everything you stand for and every policy that you've shoved down the American people's throats over the past 4 years, whether it's open borders, a failing economy, raging inflation, this weird woke stuff that you guys have been shoving down our children's throats. And the voters rejected you and they welcomed our party.
Have you ever seen that video?
No.
Pull that video up, because it's one of my favorites.
I've never seen a white male billionaire screaming at the top of his lungs, this whole system is rigged. And the moderator said, well, Mr. Trump, if in fact the system is rigged, what would be your evidence? Remember what he said, bro? He said,
I absolutely used it, and so did Warren Buffett, and so did George Soros, and so did many of the other people that Hillary is getting money from.
no one ever heard someone say something that true. And then Hillary Clinton tried to punch him in the taxes. She said, this man doesn't pay his taxes. He shot right back.
See, I understand the tax code better than anybody that's ever run for president, and it's extremely complex.
And then he said,
She complains that Donald Trump took advantage of the tax code. Well, why didn't she change it? Why didn't you change it when you were a senator? The reason you didn't is that all your friends take the same advantage that I do. Hillary Clinton has friends that want all of these provisions.
and with that, my friends, the star was born.
Because Trump bad. Trump bad.
But then Kennedy's like, it's not our fault, it's because of Kathleen Kennedy. But then Kathleen Kennedy says like, fuck it, make it more lame. And everyone in town is like, no, please, Kathleen Kennedy, stop ruining everything. But Kathleen Kennedy is all like, put another gay diverse woman in it, make it more fucking lame. And the Disney stock just keeps going down and down and down. And then Bob Iger is all like, no, what's going on with my stocks? No, Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes. What would you say you do here?
Well, look, I already told you. I deal with the goddamn customers so the engineers don't have to. I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that? What the hell is wrong with you people?
Ryan Mass just pulled the funniest troll move. He straight up corrected the evicted protesters like, yeah, PEPFAR funding was restored.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to testify before this committee. My name is Max Primorak. I am a senior research fellow at the Heritage Foundation. I previously served at the U.S. Agency for International...
PEPFAR saves lives! Restore AIDS funding now! PEPFAR saves lives! Restore AIDS funding now! PEPFAR saves lives! Restore AIDS funding now! PEPFAR saves lives!
I guess these guys don't watch the news. They didn't realize that PEPFAR was one of the many programs that did prove to be life-saving, so the funding was restored. Somebody better give them a link to, I don't know, maybe Fox News or something like that.
RICO is not a crime. It is a category. What is the
It's a category of crime.
Oh, it's time to admit, huh, that a lot of y'all see your own people through the eyes of them folks. That's the reason why you got all these surface level critiques about hood ghetto people.
Because Trump bad. Trump bad.
I do have to respect you. Need to have some. Wow.
Yeah, I don't want to. Thank you for your service.
I didn't want to turn around. Wearing that hat in public.
Mom.
Because y'all got false narratives out there, and y'all should be ashamed of yourself. Y'all black. Y'all are black. And y'all sitting up here beating and attacking on a black woman that's in power. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. I'm also the supervisor of Thorn Township. So when do I have time for little people? I don't. They beneath me. They beneath me.
And not let people feed you poison.
Hello, Democrats. Hey, I am speaking, and I would love your attention. There is a black woman at this podium, and I deserve your attention like the 11 people who went before me. Yes, I am speaking.
What's going on around here? Put down that comedy relief. What's the big idea? I'm the hero of this picture. Carry me. Give me the cheers. Give me 1 dozen roses.
You ain't shit. You ain't even a fucking pig no more.
You think that makes me less dangerous or more?
The NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
Well, we are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good. I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
¿Qué pues, pinche gringo mamón?
U.S. Border Protection. How can I help you?
Pues sí, you can help me. Devuélveme mi trabajo. ¿Qué hiciste? ¿Qué hiciste, cabrón? ¡Me destrozaste el coche, pinche gringo!
Thanks for your collaboration. And remember, don't come back again.
Y el gringo nos quiere cobrar el muro. Dile que no, pinche gringo racista. Pues no te pagaremos nada.
Wait a minute, please.
Señor Trump.
Yes, it indeed is on, Audric. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever this video finds you, welcome to Text. This is common sense. So, of course, it's Saturday, and the news does not slow down concerning the White House and everything that's going on. But like Lewis sent me a video from somebody who clearly grew up on welfare and food stamps. I could smell the roaches and the poverty and the pissy mattress coming from his screen. Like, he did a video about us a couple months ago when Trump was at the NOBJ or whatnot, National Organization of Black Journalists, where it was just, I mean, in all honesty, we remember it. We saw it. They not to necessarily rehash it, but he made a fool out of those chicks. Let's just be honest. You know, they sitting up here arguing about goofy racism. And he like, yo, you do understand that the economy is in the toilet, right? Like, you can pull up stats from 2022 and below, but he's talking about from 2022 to 2024, the economy took a nosedive. Show the chart. You say you have evidence, show the evidence. Just another silly quoting Abby Phillips. Are you on drug? Abby Phillips. Good Lord. If it wasn't for Scott Jennings, nobody but people like him would watch that show. Who the hell watches CNN? Who the hell watches CNN? Their ratings are in the toilet. And I tell you right now, if they find out more money has been allocated towards media, and they find out that it's actually been allocated towards CNN and whatnot, they're going to pull that funding, and that network is dead. They're going to have to sell it. You have to sell it. That's all right. But here's the updated chart that supposedly was wrong. And, you know, he was right. It was wrong. Here's the updated chart. You know, since I got my chart from TikTok, even though I didn't, you can Google it. It's right there. So African Americans at the very bottom at $51,374 as far as the median income household by ethnicity. And I think this was in 2023. And look at all of these at the very bottom. Native Americans, what does it say? Sorry, I got the camera right there. The average American, Hispanic American. Then you got Mexican American, Brazilian, Nigerian, and white Americans are right here at 79,000. You know, because he said they make the most money in the whole country. Really? No, the Indians do. Well, now they do. It was the Filipinos. Now it's the Indians. The Indian Americans, you know, people from India, not the natives, people of India. You know, one of them just happens to be your new director of the FBI. At $152K annually, then Filipino, then Asian American. All right, Chinese, Russian, Russian. We had 5, 6 European American. That's people from the UK. All right, then Australian. That's 7. Japanese 8. British 9. Italian 10, German 11, Canadian 12, white American 13. We're at the very freaking bottom. Show me a stat. Don't say the stat. Show me the stat. What's up, Jibba? Show me the stat. Don't say it, just show it. But, you know, just show it. But, you know, that's the thing when you deal with the children of welfare who never got over it. They still mad that you don't want to sleep with their mommies. So let's get on to this. The Maine Wire. You saw that video where Trump was talking to the governor of Maine, where there was a fallout from that. Maine House Republicans called for an investigation into Governor Mills' staffer Jeremy Kennedy following a Mary Margolohan report. Statement from Maine House Republican leader Representative Billy Bob Falkenham, Republican of West Harbor, said Maine Governor Janet Mills' chief of staff Jeremy Kennedy has developed a pattern of explosive profanity-laced tirades. According to a report from the Daily Wire, White House officials have revealed that Jeremy Kennedy, a senior official in Governor Mills' administration, had a highly unprofessional outburst during a meeting regarding the topic of men and women's sports. The incident reportedly occurred on a Saturday morning in Washington, D.C., during a discussion between Alex Meyer, the White House Director of Intergovernmental Affairs, and a group of gubernatorial chiefs of staff. When Meyer informed Kennedy that Maine must comply with the law to protect women's sports, Kennedy allegedly responded with a profanity-laden insult and stormed out of the room, which is weird, you know. He want to abuse and beat women so bad. He want to be in women's locker rooms to shake his tallywhacker and fulfill his spank bank material so badly. Why? Well, of course, why? Because he wants the spank bank material. While this recent outburst is now public, it highlights a troubling pattern of intimidation and unprofessional conduct from Kennedy, whose actions have consistently displayed arrogance and recklessness. This is not the first time his behavior has raised concern. Just a month ago, the Maine House Republican office sent an official letter to Governor Mills expressing serious concerns about Kennedy's hostile behavior during budget negotiations. Despite the gravity of the complaint, Governor Mills has failed to address either the note or Kennedy's actions. Yeah, because she approves of it. A copy of that letter sent on January 24, 2025 is included for reference. Damn, this was just a month ago. But you know what it is? No, he's not a transformer. He's just, you can tell he's one of those white boys who never got a whooping. Probably grew up in a single parent household, or his mother was very dominant and his father was a cuck. You know. Look, this is him. This is what he looks like. This is him. Unfortunately, this behavior is not an isolated incident. Many in the public have witnessed the toxic environment that Republicans often face at the Maine State House. Despite Democrats' frequent calls for civility, members of their party have repeatedly demonstrated verbal hostility when confronted with differing viewpoints on key issues impacting Maine's people. Y'all need to vote these people out. Y'all need to vote these people out. Regrettably, this behavior has gone largely unaddressed, even though it is well known among State House insiders, including members of the Maine Press Corps. As the governor's chief of staff, who is married to Democrat House Majority Leader Matt Moonen, there it is. There it is. He's a turd burglar. Jeremy Kennedy wields significant power as an unelected bureaucrat. How so? With seemingly no checks on his conduct. Many people deserve better from their elected representatives and their senior staff. It is incumbent upon Governor Mills to direct her chief of staff to issue a formal apology to the White House and to the people of Maine for Jeremy Kennedy's inappropriate behavior. You make him read it. You make him read it. You make him read it. Yeah, a dude said we're going to have to designate the Democrats as a terrorist organization. Pretty much. Because that's what it's getting to. What up, baby? That's what it's getting to. These people have lost their freaking minds. All right, so let's run through the gauntlet. Y'all ready? See, Trump brings receipts to read governors of a litany of tax-funded government programs to governors. Okay, let's see what he's talking about.
We created the new Department of Government Efficiency, which you may have heard about. DOGE, which is now waging war on government waste, fraud, and abuse. And we've begun the largest deregulation of industries and other things. It's proper deregulation that has ever done. I lead the way on my first 4 years. We did more deregulation than any other president in history. And I brought a little list along that I thought I'd just read some of the places when you mentioned DOGE, some of the places that this money has gone. And these are the ones that I feel I could read. There are some that are so nasty and dirty and horrible that I don't want to really read them because I assume they have television on. I guarantee they do. I let the press in today because we have nothing to hide, right? It's much better. They said, do you want to let the press in? I said, why not? You think Biden would do that? I don't think so. $520 million was given for a consultant to do ESG, that's environmental, social, and governance investments in Africa. $520 million, $25 million to promote biodiversity.
This is BlackRock stuff,
conservation,
by the way.
Social responsibility behavior in the country of Colombia. 25 million, $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. They have no place in particular they were thinking of. There is no location. The money was sent out, but they have no idea where it's going. $42 million for social and behavior changes in Uganda, and $10 million for Mozambique medical male circumcision. People that want to be, or have to be circumcised in Mozambique. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $486 million to a consortium for elections and political process strengthening, which $22 million was for inclusive
You wondering why you can't get
participatory
reparations?
political process in Moldova.
That's a joke.
And $21 million going to my friend, Prime Minister Modi in India, for voter turnout. We're giving 21 million for voter turnout in India. What about us? I want voter turnout too, Governor. $29 million to strengthen the political landscape in Bangladesh. Went to a firm that nobody ever heard of. Got 29 million. They got a check. Can you imagine you have a little firm, you get 10,000 here, 10,000 there. And then we get 29 million from the United States government. There are two people working in that firm. Two people. I think they're very happy. They're very rich. They'll be on the cover of a very good business magazine pretty soon for being great scammers. $20 million for fiscal federalism and $19 million for biodiversity in Nepal, and $47 million also for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia got a lot of money. $50 million plus another $50 million for condoms for Hamas. They gave 50 million and it worked out so well, they gave another 50 million a little bit later. Condoms, 100 million for Hamas. And we're also uncovering outrageous incompetence and fraud in the Social Security. And I read this last night. So, Governor, you're going to be bored hearing this, but you never get bored because it's not possible to even believe it. So if you live 100 years, it's a long time, but let's assume that they had millions and millions of people living, because they have like 10 million people in the Social Security living, but let's go over 100. So now you're more than 100 years old. We have 4.7 million Social Security numbers, people from the age of 100 to 109. So if you're 100 to 109, we have 4.7 million people on our Social Security rolls, right? That's a lot of people. I knew one guy was 100. The great Lenny Litwin, he was a builder in Manhattan. He lived to 103. You knew him. He was one of the greatest builders. He was so happy. The reason he lived, he loved building. He'd build a building a year, right? Never had a problem. You knew Lenny Litwin, I would think, Governor, right? He was a great guy and got along with everybody. He got along with Democrats, Republicans. Everybody loved Lenny. When he died, it was a bad day for New York, I'll tell you. He was a great guy, but he lived to 103, 104 because he just loved his business. He was designing a new building at 103, and that was the end of it. He didn't quite get the design finished. But yeah, 3.6 million people aged 110, substantially older than good old Lenny. From 110 to 119, you have 3.6. These are the people on the rolls. Now we're looking to see whether or not they've been paid, because if they've been paid, then
do the trip.
They're just using those numbers to take out the money, all the money that's paid to those people. 3.47 million people from the age of 120 to 129. 3.9 million people age 130 to 139. 3.5 million people age 140 years old to 149 years old. I think this is the case for
Elon read the code wrong for Social Security. Like, no, he didn't.
1.3 million from age 150. There's 1.3 million people they're saying are alive and receiving Social Security. Now, that's the only thing we're checking. Are they receiving it? Because if they're receiving it, that makes it much worse. If they're not receiving it, that just makes it incompetent. They shouldn't be on the rolls. And the only thing good about this is that when we take all these people off the rolls, and we have tremendous fraud underneath, people that are 80 and 60 and 50 and everything else, but this is really incredible. 1.3 million from 150 to 159, and over 130,000 people are on the rolls of Social Security over the age of 160 years old, including 1,039 people between the ages of 220 and 229. So we have, think of that, we have 1,039 people who are 220 years old to 229. We have one person at 240 years old, and here's the beauty of them all. We have one person
I know we went
at 360, which is strange because the country is
any of this.
250. From the Dodgers. And I said, what are they? He said, they're generally young people with extremely high IQs who are very good with computers, because you have to be good with computers. So when one of these scammers talks and tries to tell them why it's perfect, they said, no, it doesn't work that way. You know, it's very hard to talk them out of something when they have you. But we're actually going to Fort Knox because I want to see, do we have
We want to see if they have any gold.
Alice Johnson? Where's Alice?
So peep this out. Here's some good news.
Boy, are you incredible. I watched you on last night on television.
This is going to prove that Trump is a racist. For once and for all, we're finally going to get an updated chart of Trump being a racist. So this is good news, y'all. Good news.
You were so good. You know, Alice was in prison for doing something that today probably wouldn't even be prosecuted. She spent 22 years in prison, 22 years. She had another 22 years left. Can you believe it? And I heard that. I heard that they were talking about Cobo. Well, we'll have to Google that and take a look. We're going to Google that. We're going to Google that and take a look tonight. Let's get back to this. I'm sorry. All right, let's go. Years. She had another 22 years left. Can you believe it? And I pardoned her, and it was one of the best pardons. One of the best pardons. You know what she was on? She happened to be on the wrong telephone line. Is that true? She was on a telephone call, and I'm not saying it was perfect, but it wasn't worth 40 or 50 years, Alice. And you've been an inspiration to people. And we're going to be listening to your recommendation on pardons. You're going to go over, and she's going to be my pardon czar, okay? And you're going to find people just like you that should not have happened. It should not have happened. So you're going to look and you're going to make recommendations, and I'll follow those recommendations. Oh no, a black woman. He put her in charge of, made her his pardon czar. How racist. He's a funny mustachey. But yeah, so here's the answer. So part of the confusion comes from Social Security's software system based on the COBOL programming language, which has a lack of data type. This means that some entries with missing or incomplete birth dates will default to a reference point of more than 150 years ago. So there you go. But you're talking about this is a smoke screen to deflect from his racism and Project 2025, says Roland. Oh, Roland. Mr. Man Butt himself. Yeah, but there you go. It is on the COBOL system. But the thing about it is you're talking about, guys who write code for like space shuttles and stuff. Like, you know, they already knew that and then did whatever requirements that were used to make sure that they got an accurate count. Because like Trump was saying, you got people who they only had a contract for 3 months. They began to check for 20 years. And as I explained, you have illegals here that are using other people's, usually dead people's Social Security numbers to keep the ball rolling. So the checks just keep going. Not to mention grandmas buried in the backyard, people who never, like, they may have reported the death
but they never sent in the death certificate to stop the payments. Sometimes they even call it in, or, you know, whatever systems they're in place, they'll show the death certificate. Social Security keeps sending the checks. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. All right, let's get on to the next one. I figured y'all would get a kick out of that. Let's hear from Pammy.
It's okay for pardons, all right?
Here's my favorite.
Let's bring in the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Can I still call you Pam, or do I have to call you General Bondi?
You better call me Pam. We've known each other for way too long.
We certainly have. So yesterday, when you were doing CPAC, along with Senator Ted Cruz, you said that what you found at the Department of Justice was worse than you thought that it could possibly be. Let me ask you, what was worse? What surprised you? And the bigger question, can you fix it?
Well, we're going to fix it. That's the directive from Donald Trump. We will fix it. You know, I always thought that the worst part was within the FBI, John, but it's throughout the Justice Department. It's throughout the administration. I mean, look even at what Elon Musk has been uncovering with all the different departments, USAID, Treasury, everything. I've been working with all my counterparts. I mean, the fraud, the waste, the abuse. Lee Zeldin at EPA and I have been talking constantly, and we're going to have some very big news on that soon, what we're going to do to help EPA. But even within the departments, yesterday, we got rid of the Jack Smith team. That was a given, the ultimate weaponization of the government. But we also, yesterday, I fired the general counsel from ATF. You know, these people were targeting gun owners. Not going to happen under this administration. And so we're looking to hire really great people. Sitting on my desk right now are all the list of the.
Are y'all familiar with Colin Noir, the black dude? That's the, you know, the gun guy. Yeah, he was talking about that. Like Sergeant Willie Pete posted a video last year where Colin Noir and a few other people, they were talking about how the government has been targeting people that have weapons, you know, that collect weapons. You know, not everybody is, you know, waiting to shoot up a school or something. Like, they just gun collectors. You know, just like you have comic book collectors, Funko Pop collectors, shoe collectors, whatever. You have people that are gun collectors. They were targeting those people, putting false charges on them and everything, trying to confiscate their guns. You say Mark Chopper got raided? Yeah. You know, he's going to get his stuff back, though. He's going to get his stuff back, though. There's a lot of people that's going to get their stuff back. But, you know, the department, it was a mess, especially the past 2 years, because Biden had seriously went into decline. And as that one Democratic White House staffer said, we were, quote unquote, throwing gold bars off of the Titanic. They were just stealing like crazy. That's why you suddenly have all of these senators, Democratic senators, with tens of millions of dollars in their bank account. Like, you haven't even been in the Senate 4 years. I can see if you've been here for 10. You ain't even been here for 10. You ain't even been here 4 years. Anyway,
under this administration. And so we're looking to hire really great people. Sitting on my desk right now are all the list of the names of the U.S. attorneys who we're going to bring in. So are we going to fix it? Absolutely. Is it going to take a while? Not as long as people think.
Great to have you here today. I'll stick with Madam Attorney General. It's great to have you back on the program. If I may just ask you, what have you been able to see since you've taken the reins there that has perhaps altered or prioritized some of your initial goals out of the gate here?
Well, you know what really altered, of course, we want to take it back to its prime major function, the Department of Justice, fighting violent crime. So I knew that. I've done that my whole career. So going in, I really thought that would be our top priority. But now it's also the fraud, waste, and abuse. And for the fighting crime, you know, we're going after these cartels. We all work so well together. All of us, all of these cabinet members, we're such a great team. And today's a great day for me because I get to swear in Kash Patel today. So I can't wait to have Kash on board. And he's just going to be a great team member for us to fight all of these criminals around this country.
You know, on the subject of, quote, going after, you've gone after the states of New York and the states of Illinois, the city of New York and the city of Chicago for standing in the way of President Trump's efforts to deport illegal migrant criminals. And you're going to get tremendous amount of pushback from both states. Kathy Hochul said this of your lawsuit against the green light law. She said, we expect Pam Bondi's worthless publicity-driven lawsuit to be a total failure, just like all the others. Let me be clear. New York is not backing down. And then the Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker,
what is
said
he talking about?
Unlike Donald Trump, we follow the law in Illinois. Now, maybe they put up with this kind of garbage in Florida, which is the home state of the head of the DOJ. But in Illinois, we have grit. We are tough. We are strong. And Donald Trump has no idea what he's up against when he attacks Illinois.
Yeah, okay.
So what do you say to the good governors of Illinois and New York?
Tough. Okay.
Bring it on. We are going to protect Americans. When they say they're tough and they have grit, really, they're protecting illegal aliens over American citizens. Not going to happen under Donald Trump's administration. We will find illegal aliens and we will deport them in Illinois, in New York, and in other states. And you better comply with federal law or you're going to be next. We've spoken loud and clear. We are sick and tired of Americans being murdered and these states protecting illegal aliens. Talk to the family of Laken Riley and all of these other young women and men who have been murdered by illegal aliens, and see what you think then when you want to protect them.
You know, as I was heading up here, I saw a headline. I thought I'd ask you to react to it. It was on MSNBC, and it said, Pam Bondi brings partisan politics back to the Attorney General office. It goes after you for thinking it was a good idea to attend CPAC and record a podcast with Senator Ted Cruz. They went on to call it a partisan mess. How do you respond to that?
Well, I had a great time yesterday with Senator Cruz and with my friend Benny Johnson, who was there. I recorded something for him if they want to see that also. You know what we're talking about? Taking violent crime off the street, fighting the fentanyl epidemic. How is that partisan? And it's almost comical, Sandra, that these people think this is partisan. We're taking the Department of Justice back to its core function, fighting violent crimes and saving children's lives. And that's what we're going to do with DEA, with ATF, with FBI, with the U.S. Marshals, working hand in hand with Kristi Noem at Homeland Security, working with Mike Waltz, working with Pete Hegseth, working with Tulsi Gabbard, working with Marco Rubio. They don't know the team that's hit them. And we're going to protect America at the direction of Donald Trump.
Yeah, I saw your appearance at CPAC with Ben and with Ted Cruz. And one of the things that you alluded to, and this is something Donald Trump has talked about, the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
She ain't seen them yet.
We'll check back with you. Madam Attorney General, Pam, great to spend time with you.
Thank you so much.
She's probably not surprised, or she hasn't actually seen it all yet. But let's get to, let's get to making fun of
I'll
our
talk to you about the
losers.
Democrats' early polling shows who the front runners might be 3 years out from the 2028 Democratic presidential primary. Newsweek reports that the prominent Democrats taking an early lead include, wait for it, Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, AOC, and even Tim Walz's name is emerging. My goodness, they really are in a weak position. Look, do you have any faith just listening to who's...
Okay, hold on. Quick question. Put a 1 in the chat if you think at least half of these people will probably be criminally charged before 2028. All right. He said, Lord, Jasmine Crockett. Yeah, you can throw her in there, but put a 1 in the chat if y'all think half of these people on this list will be criminally charged before 2026, and they won't even be considered candidates.
listed as some of the key players who are the top options.
We'll go through the list again.
Gavin Newsom, AOC, and even Tim Walz's name is emerging. My goodness, they really are.
Oh, hold on.
Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, AOC, and even Tim Walz's name is emerging. My goodness, they really are in a weak position. Look, do you have any faith, just listening to who's listed as some of the key players who are the top options for the Democrats? Are any of those going to work, or do they need someone else to come through?
This is absolutely crazy. This is a disaster for Democrats. They've got nothing right now if these are their best options. I think probably Gavin Newsom is the strongest of those just because he understands how to adapt to this very, very rapidly changing political climate. But of that list, I mean, can any one of them pass the Joe Rogan test? And by that, I mean, could any one of them sit for a conversation with Joe Rogan and come across as relatable and appealing? Kamala Harris obviously didn't even try, but had she tried, I'm not so sure. It may have helped her a little bit, but it actually may have backfired because you have to be somebody. J.D. Vance did this very well. Obviously Trump did it well in terms of authenticity and being an entertainer, but J.D. Vance sat and talked to Joe Rogan authentically, guy to guy for a long time. Could any of those people on that list pass that test? Are any of them actually able to reach out to your average working class, white or black or Hispanic male voter to the point where Democrats are able to put up better numbers in a presidential election? No, is a very clear answer to that question at this point. So that's a really, really sharp problem for them.
Absolutely not. That is the short answer. No, but it's great to see the Joe Rogan test. That's kind of the new standard, that politicians can't get away with just one or two catchphrases or some spin. They really have to be authentic and be able to speak for 3 hours, answering all types of questions and not getting tripped up. I think it's a good thing, and I think it means that, Americans can get a stronger sense of who someone really is. Kamala Harris, she attended a Broadway show in New York City, and she reminded everyone about her speaking skills. Let's take a listen.
For those rights to be maintained, which means we have to be vigilant, and it's just the nature of it. Look at this beautiful play and everything that we know he had to suppress so much. But he knew, and he took those risks. But we have to be clear-eyed. And it doesn't mean we don't see the beauty in everything, right? These things all coexist. But I believe we fight for something, not against something.
Another word salad, that's what she's known for, and that's not changing. I really doubt that there are that many people who are watching a clip like that and going, oh, she's presidential, or, wish she was in charge.
I mean, what a perfect segue from the last conversation we were having about Joe Rogan, in that Kamala Harris could have sat for 3 hours all she wanted, but she still sounds like this. And that's the big problem with Democratic politicians right now, is that Donald Trump forced Republicans to put up candidates that just relate better to the American people because maybe they're more casual, maybe they're more adapted to digital media. But Democrats haven't had anything forcing them to do that. They had Joe Biden, a man who couldn't take questions for most of his presidency at length because he would stare off into the distance and look like he was lacking mental capacity. So because he was forced, right? Yes, that was very clear to everyone, and they haven't been forced to put up someone who really can be authentic. And this is Kamala Harris in what should be the most authentic situation in the world. She's just talking to some people, it's not even a speech. She's just talking, and she can't do that without sounding like a robot. And that's true of most high-profile Democrats because they haven't had something like Donald Trump force them to choose better people at this point.
Finally, Vivek Ramaswamy appears to have kicked off his campaign to become Ohio's next governor. He's filed paperwork with the Ohio Secretary of State's office, signaling his run for the 2026 election. Now, he's expected to launch his campaign next week. What can we expect from this, Emily?
This is actually going to be a really tough race. He comes in with a lot of name recognition and probably a lot of money. He has baked into his candidacy that he's been close to Donald Trump. That said, these races do tend to be more local. And what that means is the Republican Party in Ohio and Republican voters in Ohio are going to look at this race really closely. It's not going to all be about name recognition, and it's not going to all be about money. So if you're someone who came up through the ranks in Ohio politics, conflicts over the course of years, you actually will, as Ramaswamy's likely opponents have, you're actually going to have to deal with that if you're Ramaswamy. So I think a lot of people saw this as maybe a consolation prize, a slam dunk, like, oh, he's going to run back to Ohio and he'll climb the ladder there and it'll be a sort of easy rung on the ladder for him. But actually, these things are really tough. J.D. Vance's primary was really tough in the Senate race back when he was first elected by Republicans. So this is not going to be a slam dunk by any stretch of the imagination, though he will certainly be competitive.
Washington, D.C. correspondent at Unheard, Emily Jashinsky, thank you so much.
I'll say it again. You say local is code for white. Yeah, it's Ohio. Yeah, I mean, I'll say it again. Vivek has a chance to actually be in the presidential race if he runs as a moderate Democrat. That's the only shot he'll actually get. He's the only one that's fit to be a Democratic leader where the Democrats will actually get behind him, because he is he's people first. He's American people first, but he's not with all that trans hoopla and all of that garbage. Like the number one thing that the Democrats need to do is drop that type of talk, all that race talk and everything. They need to stop that. Black people sound so silly. I mean, look, you got people still out here rooting for Kamala, and this chick, she can't even form a coherent sentence. She's worse than Joe Biden. And what kills me is that for all of the talk of them wanting a black female president, if the White House actually would have told the truth about his mental capacity back in 22, she would have ran the country if she wasn't already running it on the side, which would explain a lot with 23 and 24. But whatever, we just work here. What's next?
Thanks for joining us in Power Hour.
Thanks for having me.
2 weeks ago, I saw.
Oh, this is where he clashed with the governor. For those that never saw it, even though it's in the intro, here it is. But it's a snippet that's in the intro. But here it is. This is where see in court, Trump clashes with Maine's governor over transgender athletes.
An executive order banning men from playing in women's sports. Many Democrats are fighting me on that. I hope you continue, because you'll never win another race. And it's just crazy. If you look at what happened with the boxing, if you look at what happened with the weightlifting numbers, where a record that hadn't been broken for 19 years.
The black people
got shattered. But, they put up an eighth of an ounce here, an eighth of an ounce there, and it's 218 pounds or whatever, a lot. And hadn't been broken in 19 years. And then guy walks up who transitioned. He transitioned.
He just cut his hair.
He knocked out that record by about 100 pounds. That will be a record not going to be broken again in a longer. So we put a ban on it, and to protect women. I mean, the women, if you watch the Olympics, you had two transitioned people that were fighting in the women's boxing. They have women's boxing category. And if you saw that, it was brutal. What happened to the Italian woman was a really good boxer. After one punch, she said, no more. I've never been hit. It was a left. It was not even it was just a left jab. She got hit so hard, she said, I can't do it. They forced her to go out. No, go out again. You'll do it. Goes out again, gets hit again. No, that's it. She didn't want to die. And it's crazy, but the NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is the Maine here, the governor?
Oh, that reminds me. For those of y'all who, y'all see my AI thumbnails, if y'all like them, Lewis is the one that do them. So if y'all want him to do thumbnails for you, just hit him up. Just hit him up. Red Pill Sleeper Cell. Hit him up. He'll take care of you. He'll take care of you. I love these Trump Thanos. I got like, how many you sent me? 4 or 5? But anyway, I got some I'm going to use. I got another one I'm going to use tomorrow. Well, let's go.
Maine? Well, is the Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding. Every state, good. I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics. Every state has a responsibility to comply with Title IX. They have an obligation, a legal obligation, and we'll be enforcing aggressively, and we're going to be protecting our citizens. We're going to protect.
Yeah, because they don't have to throw you in jail or anything. They just cut off the money. The capitalistic society. States depend on government money, especially now with the economy the way it is. Oh, okay. You don't want to comply with federal law, then you don't get any money. He say Trump being like a Judge Dredd. I am the law. Oh, no, wait. I am the law. I mean, what else you gonna do? He is the law. He's the president. Let's make fun of some more Democrats. Okay, let's see. Byron Donalds roast Democrats at CPAC.
It has a pretty good ring to it, doesn't it? CPAC, look, it's been an interesting 12 hours for me. A lot of things been going on. Hi, honey. My wife is here. Hi, honey. I love you. It's good seeing you. I want to tell you a little bit about the last 12 hours, and then we'll talk about the other stuff. But I want to talk to you about the last 12.
Full face beard.
Thank you so much. I'm in an event, and my phone is ringing yesterday, and it was with my good friend out of Kentucky, Andy Barr, and I'm at an event for him in Naples, and my phone is ringing nonstop, and I'm like, what is going on? And I'm trying to pay attention to the event because I'm trying to be a good friend to my colleague from Kentucky. And I get a phone call, and it's from the president. And he talks to me about what he just put out on Truth Social. And I just want to say, Mr. President, thank you. And I will never let you down. But I didn't even have a chance to really digest what was going on because an hour later, our middle son, he and his team were playing in a regional championship last night. And I got to tell you, as a dad, let's put politics aside for a moment. As a dad, I watched my 17-year-old son play the game of his life. And I mean, I coached him from when he was 3, and he would be mad at me for making him take jumpers and layups. And so every now and again, you might have an argument in the driveway. He wanted to go play. I made him go to work. But last night, watching him really make key plays for his team, it all kind of came full center. So my phone is blowing up, and people in the gym are trying to talk to me about politics, but I'm watching my son just live that moment in time when all the work and all the preparation meets success. And they were down 5 points in the third, and they had to rally back. And then the thing that's iconic in my mind, and I know we're supposed to be talking about politics in the golden age of America and making America great again, but I will tell you, part of the golden age of our nation is the success of our children and our grandchildren. So I'm watching my son. It's 8 seconds on the clock. The place is going berserk. We have a lead. He gets a rebound, and he just starts dribbling down court. And I'm on the side of the baseline that he's dribbling towards. Like, I can't sit in the stands. I gotta stand on the baseline and yell at the referees. Not too loud. Not too loud. Not too loud. I'm much more mature these days. My wife is looking at me like, no, you yell. And he's dribbling towards me, and it looks like he's gonna take off and dunk, and he decides not to. He passes it to a teammate. The clock expires. He turns around. He sees me. I see him. and he's all sweaty and nasty, but it was the best bear hug a father could ever have.
Black fatherhood.
My son was able to do last night the thing that we want all of our children to be able to do. To have the opportunity to truly excel, to find themselves, to work hard, and to deliver success, not just for themselves, but for the people around them. He and his teammates last night, they won a big game. They're going to the state Final Four next week, and I'm not going to miss a game. I'm going to be at each one of them. But as I was coming out here to talk with you today, it kind of gave me an ability to take a step back, because the things that we are fighting for, the ideals that we stand for, are for the future of this great nation. And so while the Democrats have continued to lose their minds, literally, yes, there were 5 senators standing at a podium all by themselves protesting the fact that Kash Patel is now the director of the FBI.
Because they know that they're on the investigation list.
You have Democratic members of Congress who are standing outside of the USAID building protesting the fact that Donald Trump has delivered on the promise of cleaning out the waste, the fraud, and an abuse in our federal government.
Because they're going to be on the FBI list.
Some of their donors are pissed at them, and they frankly should be pissed at them. I mean, they just wasted, what is it? $1.5 billion for a devastating loss. That's really expensive.
3 months. 2 months.
To those donors, you should come and join us. We actually believe in using money efficiently and effectively. They're going to the courts, the last bastion of hope they possibly have. And they're going to the courts and they're now trying to sue President Trump because he's using the same discretion the Democrats have used for decades to build a leviathan of a federal government that is not responsive to you, that does not listen to what we, the people, desire, that ignores elections no matter the outcomes, but continues to build an albatross of a federal government. And now they are mad because we are committed to doing the thing we told you on the campaign trail for months. We are going to bring this government to heel. It will be responsive to the will of the American people, and we will make America great again.
Somebody said, Governor.
In my state, some of the things that we're going to do on Capitol Hill, we've been doing in Florida. You know, the phrase down in Florida is, make America Florida. There's a reason why citizens have been leaving blue states to go to Florida. There's a reason why people who immigrate legally, and I stress legally, from some of the worst places in the world come to Florida. There's a reason why students in Florida and parents in Florida have choice at their fingertips to find the best solution for their children. And that reason is because we have leaders who have been committed to the principles of individual liberty and limited government. They have been committed to those same constitutional principles that are the very foundation of the America First movement.
You know what? I know people, they give Ron DeSantis a bad rap. Even I know I've given Ron DeSantis a bad rap. But as of ever since he took on Disney and their don't say gay bill and everything, making them cough up $700 billion, sending they sent documents to the FBI because Disney had been running a criminal enterprise, allegedly, at Reedy Creek, but you heard nothing about it. Just like you had the FBI confiscate the files from Dalton and Thornton Township regarding Tiffany Henyard. That was back in August, September, and you haven't heard anything else about it. I'm predicting that probably before the year is out, something is going to. Don't make me throw your phone. Lewis, if that's you, you know I'm live. Email it. I'm not even gonna look at it. I'm predicting before the end of the year that something big is going to jump off concerning, of course, Disney, concerning the FBI files. And of course, I know they're going to get Tiffany, but I kind of get the feeling that for those of you who are like in my circle, I sent y'all a video this morning where Stephen A. Smith was going off. All right, because it looked like Stephen A. Smith is turning, well, as he said, he's independent, but he appears to be leaning towards the conservative side. He's agreeing with what's going on the conservative side. I get the feeling that once they start as they're doing their audits, as you know, like Politico and other news organizations were being paid by the government. I kind of get the feeling that that's what's going on with CNN and ABC, which is of course owned by Disney. I believe that Disney and CNN are getting paid off by the government to preach the garbage that they've been preaching for the past 2 to 4 years. So if that's true and they cut the money off, that will be the end. That will be the end of CNN, because again, they had to lay off more people in order to cut salaries because they can't afford their operating costs. I mean, they're pretty much their operating costs is at bare bones. They're almost literally living off of commercials. Excuse me. And with Disney, with the Reedy Creek files, the Reedy Creek cases that they've done, a lot of corruption, whatnot, that was uncovered by Ron DeSantis because they pissed him off. So he went at them. And then they had the nerve to try to countersue or whatnot. And then they just opened up the books and did an investigation on Disney and Reedy Creek, because they pretty much was running the town, but they were running the town into the ground. They were siphoning off money and everything. This is what was reported as far as what they found in all of the files, and they sent it to the DOJ. DOJ and the FBI was supposed to investigate, and they never did come down to Florida to do so, because I mean they were up under the Biden administration. But that's all going to, be reopened and finally looked at. So you might be looking at the end of Disney as well as the end of CNN, ABC / The View. They're going to have to sell those things off, as well as ESPN, which is why Stephen A. Smith, if you've noticed as of late, he's been more so on his podcast talking politics more so than sports. You saw he was on The View, he was on CNN, he was on Piers Morgan, right? Out there to the point where he was talking about that people want him to run for president. And it's like, man, get the hell out of here. Nobody gonna vote for Stephen A. Smith for president. You say Byron could not make it in New York. That's fine. He can stay down in Florida. Let's see. Oh, you said me Donald Trump is Judge Dredd? All right. Before the midterms, to totally discredit the DNC, Stephen A. Smith is joining the winning team, in my opinion. Yeah. So, I mean, these are things to look for within the next year or two. So let's get back to it.
And our leaders, Governor DeSantis, and before him, Governor Scott, and all of the men and women who have served.
But to close it out, DeSantis, like I said, ever since that whole situation with Disney, You know, he did away with, he's getting the illegals out of Florida. He did away with squatters' rights. You know, you had that one sheriff, not Sheriff Grady, but another sheriff. He was like, you know, you're better off shooting them. Like, if you have to shoot at them, you're better off shooting them. You need to come to the range. We'll train you for free, because we'd rather you, in all honesty, what he was saying was we'd rather you shoot them than shoot and miss and accidentally hit somebody that wasn't an intended victim. We'd rather you shoot your intended target than miss and hurt an innocent person. But yeah, they are not playing. They not playing down there in Florida. They couldn't even get any insurance. Are you kidding me? No, Ron. I mean, say what you will about Ron with wearing the lifts and, you know, his limited IQ or whatnot, but you cannot say that he's not trying to do something for Floridians. All right, so let's go.
In our legislature, myself included, a long time ago. Well, not that long ago. I'm not that old. I'm 46. I'm not that old. We were committed to making sure that there was a state that people could go to chase the American dream, to realize the American dream, to be able to watch their kids do something fantastic like I had the opportunity to do last night. And that state's Florida. But let me tell you this, Florida's not going to stop leading. We're going to build off of what we've done, and we are going to continue to lead bigger, better, faster, greater, safer, freer, because the American dream is for everybody, and we're going to show the other 49 states how to get it done.
Okay. We're going to filibuster and pontificate about Florida for the next
So my friend at 1600, who I know you guys are going to see tomorrow night, my friend, Mr. President, I already know they're not going to get you down. You just keep going. Because the forgotten men and women of this nation are grateful for your leadership. They are grateful. Told America is going to be in the to do. And I want to tell you, we are going to deliver on the agenda that all of you worked for.
All right, he's pontificating. But I really want to get into the roasting of the Democrats tonight's video. So let's get on to the next one. Speaker Johnson reacts
Republicans in the House and Senate
of Kamala Harris and AOC running for president in 2028. Oh, let's hear this. It's a short one. It's less than 2 minutes. So let's hear it.
Mr. Speaker, there was some reporting this week that the Democrats are planning what they're calling a super ticket in 2028. Kamala Harris and AOC.
Oh, you'd be like, yes, thank you.
Are you prepared for that?
Oh, let it be so. Let it be so. Wow. Is that real? Is that real?
That's an actual legitimate, well, I use that word legitimate very loosely nowadays with the media, but that report is out there, we'll say.
Wow.
I don't know who would run for president and who would be VP.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I so hope that happens.
Do the Democrats, do they have a leader right now?
No, they don't. They don't have a leader.
Is there any leader at any level? Or is it still Joe Biden?
Well, he wasn't the leader for the last 4 years. They really are in a real bind. They don't have a leader. They don't have a vision. They don't have a platform they can run on. They have to do a whole cloth reinvention of the party. But they're very divided right now because they're in the blame game as they do the autopsy of what happened in the election cycle. So it's an interesting time. Look, our party's in great shape right now. We are very unified. We have a broadened coalition. That's exactly right. And we have the principles and the policies that truly are better for the American people. I think they've recognized that. You know what happened in the last 4 years, Rob, is that the woke progressive left tried so hard, they moved so aggressively, so quickly to swing that pendulum to the left, and it went all the way to the left and it clicked. And now it's coming back, right? We are a center-right country. We always have been, we always will be. And I think President Trump is seen as a force helping us to push that pendulum back in place. So we're going to seize that historic moment. And I believe we can bring about a much better outcome for the people and for the country.
All right, so Mark Levin takes the gloves off, giving his unvarnished assessment of the Democratic Party at CPAC. 17 minutes.
Good morning, CPAC. How's everybody today? You're looking beautiful. And I tell you what, honey, I've been here several days. The energy and the excitement in this room is unbelievable. It's hard to believe that a year has gone. Thank God we lived with 4 years of a president who tried to shove down our throats Marxism and the moral decay of the fabric of our country. And here we are. Fast forward. We got President Donald J. Trump. We have 2 genders. We have DEI gone. We have equality over equity, border crossings down 93%. And we have a world stage where America is now respected and feared. So what do you think? Give me your 2 seconds on this.
Pretty good. Next question. How is everybody? Come on, let's go. It's exciting times, is it not? Well, I was thinking about something about this cabinet that we have now and thought to myself, we really have a cabinet that looks like America here. First of all, we have a president that knows how many grandchildren he has, and he loves every one of them. That helps. But let's look at this cabinet. We have the first, I'm sounding like a liberal. We have the first person of color as the FBI director. Have you heard them say that? No. First Cuban American as Secretary of State. The first gay Secretary of the Treasury. The first straight Secretary of Transportation in 4 years.
That's funny.
We have one of the highest ranking African Americans, Elon Musk. We have the first hillbilly vice president, J.D. Vance. We have the first Secretary of Defense who isn't 114 years old. We have women in the cabinet who are proud to be called women and know what the hell a woman is. And then there's Donald Trump, who's on course of being the greatest president. It's not modern history, all history. Look what he's done in 4 weeks.
Bravo, bravo. Give a round of applause.
And one other thing about Donald Trump. I told Donald Trump this at a Hanukkah party a few years ago. He's the greatest friend Israel's ever had. And so are you, by the way. And I want to thank you for that. He's the greatest friend Jews have ever had. So we have the first Jewish president in American history, too. Looks like America, that cabinet.
So speaking of that, first of all, I want to do a real sincere shout out to Mercy and Matt Schlapp, because their steadfast support of Israel is seen throughout this conference and day in and day out at CPAC. So we really need to thank them for that. It's really, really huge.
Oh, Audric is on the delay.
There used to be a time that depravity, murder, brutality was not acceptable to either party, when Republicans and Democrats alike were determined to eradicate the enemy. But here we are after an October 7, where we really learned what today's Democrat Party is. It's the Republican Party, it's conservatives, it's Jews, it's Christians who really care about what's going on in Israel and are appalled at the heinous acts that happened on October 7th. It's the Republicans, it's the conservatives, it's Donald J. Trump who have said Israel must conquer, Israel must win, Israel must do what it needs to do, not just to defend, but to go on offense and get rid of the enemy. So I just want to remind everybody that a year ago, I interviewed the father of a hostage victim at that time, Sagid Dekelhen, and here we are a year later. He's out. But honey, I want you to talk about what we saw the other day with 4 bodies coming out of Israel and the joy that was exhibited by the Palestinians in Gaza as these coffins were shown.
These bastards must be eradicated. It's that simple. You don't take a 9-month-old baby and a 4-year-old little boy and their mother and torture them, strangle those kids with your bare hands, chop up their bodies so nobody they think will notice. Remember when that mother was being pulled with her kids and she knew the people doing this are subhumans. They are rabid. They're not animals. Animals don't do this. Donald Trump knows this. These are the same people who attacked us on 9/11. These are the same people who decapitated 70 black Christians in a Congo church 48 hours ago. All of them.
Oh yeah, what's the name? Jibber sent me that. He posted it. Yeah, it's coming up right after we get finished roasting these liberals. But yeah, that's crazy. They decapitated over 70 Christians in the Congo. Ain't that wild?
This is the enemy. It's not about land. It's not about borders. It's not about any of that. They seek to extinguish us, these Islamist terrorists, and we're going to have to extinguish them before they even have a shot at extinguishing us. Another thing, constitutional crisis. Give me a break. The Democrat Party that hates the founders, that is pushing CRT, the 1619 Project, that tells us the Constitution's too old and too white. The Democrat Party that doesn't believe in the First, Second, Fifth, Sixth, Ninth, 10th, 14th Amendments. The Democrat Party that doesn't believe in separation of powers. We don't need lectures from them about the Constitution of the United States. That's number one. Number two, you activist judges, which are basically slip and fall, ambulance chasing lawyers in black robes. That's what they are.
Ooh.
You either act like judges or get the hell off the bench.
Ooh, tough talk.
You are the people destroying the Constitution. The President of the United States has a right to make personnel decisions. He has a right to make budget decisions. He has a right to restructure the bureaucracy. You know, I happen to have here a copy of the Constitution.
Not that you need it. I mean, you really do pretty much.
This little baby sticks with me all the time. And let me tell you something. You know how many federal district judges are in this Constitution? None. They're created by Congress. That's right. So Congress has the power to make decisions over the executive branch. I thought it was separation of powers. Judges have the power to tell the CDC what to put on their website? How's that separation of powers? We have a big problem in this country. We can't decide if we're a constitutional republic, a federal republic, a representative republic, or a republic at all. And the truth is that if they have their way, the people who are worried about the Constitution, first of all, what Constitution are they worried about? The old Soviet Constitution? Because they're sure as hell not worried about our Constitution, that I can tell you. You can't be a Marxist and Islamist or radical leftist and support the Constitution of the United States. You just can't. What Elon Musk, with the leadership of Donald Trump, have uncovered is a government within a government. It's not just waste, fraud, and abuse. It is a subterranean government that is spending trillions of dollars to push a radical left agenda. And we have no help from you in the media who are attacking the very people who are uncovering the bloat and the spending and the waste and the criminality. Why the hell aren't you uncovering it? That's your damn job.
Well, and it's the same media that likes to avail itself of the First Amendment, right, when it's convenient. So, yeah.
AP and the rest of you big corporate media, it says freedom of the press. It doesn't say freedom of the corporate press, okay? President of the United States can decide which press he wants in the press room and which he doesn't. Who died and gave you permanent seats in the press room? NBC and ABC and CBS?
Yeah, because understand he kicked I think he kicked CNN or somebody out because they wouldn't print Gulf of America, which they legally changed the name to Gulf of America, but they keep writing Gulf of Mexico. So it's like, well, if you're not going to be factual, I know it's petty, but if you're not going to be factual, then you're not welcome here.
Besides, we don't get news from you people. I wrote a whole book on it called Unfreedom of the Press. You're Democrats, you're leftists. We know exactly who you are, what you're doing. You can do whatever you want on your own time. You can pretend you're in the press. We're not going to shut you down. We want you out there. Why? We want the schmucks out front so everybody can see what they look like.
Well,
that's okay.
And not only that, what happened on November 5th? I mean, November 5th proved that the American people are not fooled by the people back there, and they know and they're able to find the truth because Americans are smart and they know American values, they know right from wrong, and no media is going to change that. So, look, we don't have a lot of time.
By the way, I know I can't stop.
No, but wait. I'm going to let you say something, but I do want to. I need you to reserve, because remember, I'm the boss here. I'm the boss.
30 seconds.
I need you to reserve time to talk about the misnomer that is birthright citizenship.
I will deal with that. Takes about 14 seconds. But
No.
You know, the media are funny, aren't they? They lied about Joe Biden. They didn't care. They didn't have any press conferences. And now they're worried about a seat at the table. Worried about a seat for what? Let me tell you something in the media. Do we agree that Abraham Lincoln was a fantastic president?
Yes.
He was a great president. He shut down 200 newspapers. Donald Trump hasn't shut down anything. You're going broke because we the people are shutting you down. We're not subscribing. We're not buying your damn newspapers. We're not watching your TV shows. We support the First Amendment. We support free speech. We support freedom of the press. You don't.
How do you really feel about it, honey?
Something to look into.
Okay, so now seriously, I think we need
She's pretty.
We need to talk about birthright citizenship because, again, this is a perfect example of what the left do. They take words like democracy and the Constitution, and then they exploit them because they don't really care about either of them. So they came up with this term, birthright citizenship, like anybody who comes here illegally and gives birth, that child, that baby, is an American citizen like magic. And that's not true. They cite the 14th Amendment. Do your Mark Levin thing where you give a little bit of a primer. No, because it's really important. It was so taken hostage, this paragraph in the 14th Amendment.
First of all, I wore the wrong socks, honey. I'm showing a little ankle up here. Not showing anymore.
Okay, so I wasn't going to bring an intention.
All right, let me do it. I've been talking about this for 20 years. Read it yourself. Where's the phrase birthright citizenship in the Constitution? It's right next to abortion. It doesn't exist. So they have this invisible pen, where they write these things in. The 14th Amendment was passed like the 13th and the 15th because of slavery and the Civil War. And the country came together and said, we must, in the Constitution, fix this. We must give equal rights to human beings who have been held as slaves and are now free. We must give them all the protections and rights of a citizen of the United States. Jurisdiction thereof meant the black slaves who were now free were in the jurisdiction of the United States, and all the rights and privileges, including equality and all the rest, would apply to them. It was written by Republican senators. The 14th Amendment was based, this aspect of it, based on the 1866 Civil Rights Act, the first Civil Rights Act. Andrew Johnson, who was then president after the assassination of Lincoln, was a Democrat. He refused to sign that civil rights bill. So they overrode him and they said, we need to enshrine this in the Constitution of the United States. That provision applied to black people who were freed from slavery and were still being abused in the old Confederacy. And that amendment was passed by 3/4 of the state legislatures, including southern states that were told, if you don't vote for this, you're not coming back into the Union. We know what they meant. The author of the 14th Amendment specifically rejected the idea of aliens, specifically. In fact, they rejected the idea of what they called Indians, because they had separate countries at the time, or at least it was viewed that way. So they were excluded. Underscoring the fact that you had to be a United States citizen and understood to be. So people who write that, all of a sudden, now it's interpreted to mean if you come into the United States illegally and you have a baby, that's a citizen, that baby? There is literally no language to back it up, no legislative history to back it up, no history whatsoever to back it up. And yet I suspect the courts are going to give the birthright citizenship crowd what they want. And they'll mention some 1898 decision involving a Chinese couple. Still didn't apply to illegal aliens. So illegal aliens have no constitutional basis. But I will just warn you about this. Hollywood John Roberts, that's what I call him because he's worried about the press. I don't think he, and I don't think his new best friend Barrett, will do the right thing. I think they'll join the three, I can't say women because she wouldn't say women. They won't join.
That's okay. You can say it. Go for it.
Two of the non-males and one of the males. I think that's a 5 that worries me. But just understand, your Constitution does not provide for birthright citizenship. Period.
So I just want to add one little fine point because you said a lot. You said a lot there. You notice how it's the Republican Party that consistently has been the champion of equality and the rights of black people throughout history.
Every major civil rights bill, starting in 1866 through the 50s with Eisenhower, the 60s, the Republicans either wrote it, sponsored it, or they had supermajorities to get them passed. Never forget, the Democrat Party is the party of slavery, segregation, eugenics, Jim Crow. Now they're the party of Marxism, Islamism, and anti-constitutionalism. That's a fact.
And it was Woodrow Wilson who did what? He resegregated the military when he became president.
God bless you all. Our time is up. Be well.
We love you, CPAC.
And thank you, President Trump.
All right. So here's Bernie Sanders pleading for his life. 3 minutes and 9 seconds.
And I should point out that the role of billionaires in politics, it's not just Musk, it's others. It's not just Republican billionaires, it is Democratic billionaires. It is the corruption of the two-party system. And that is why, among many, many other things, we have got to overthrow this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision and move to public funding of elections.
Oh, now you want to get the money out. Okay.
So in an America where the people on top are doing extraordinarily well, while over the last 50 years, you know why people in this country are angry? Over the last 50 years, the average that working people today are earning less in inflation-adjusted wages than 50 years ago, despite all of the increases in worker productivity and technology. Can you imagine that?
Folks didn't listen when
almost all of the new wealth that has been created has gone to the top 1%. So that's the reality that we're in right now. And I think about all of that. When I think about all of the money going to the top, working people struggling, I remember the very profound and prophetic statement that President Abraham Lincoln made at Gettysburg in 1963. And it's funny, every year I usually try to get to a parade in Vergennes, Vermont. It's a lovely parade on Memorial Day, and the organizers of the parade bring up some high school kid who recites the Gettysburg Address. And if you all remember what Lincoln did, this was in 1863, terrible battle in Gettysburg, thousands and thousands of soldiers killed trying to end the horror of slavery. And Lincoln looks out in the battlefield, and this is what he said, and it's important to remember, quote, "We here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth."
I told you he's pleading for his life. Right.
I bring you greetings from the great state of Wyoming, home of an abundance of affordable and reliable energy, wildlife galore, wide open spaces, gorgeous rivers and streams, magnificent mountains, beautiful blue skies, and not one Liz Cheney anywhere to be found. In 2024, Wyoming provided President Trump with his largest margin of victory of any state in the nation, and we are so proud of the job that he is doing. We are ecstatic that he is exposing and eradicating the massive government waste, fraud, and abuse that we have known for decades has been happening, and yet no one before would do anything about it. We are overjoyed that he has tasked Elon Musk and his team with overseeing DOGE, using their skills to implement what may be the closest thing to zero-based budgeting that we will ever see in the federal government. We are thrilled that he recognizes that we are a government of, by, and for the people, and that its primary purpose is to protect the homeland and secure our God-given rights and freedoms. It is quite apparent that the Democrats long ago stopped caring about the concerns of working class people, the truck drivers, farmers, airline employees, miners, custodians, and construction workers, among others. And they paid for such neglect by being shellacked in the last election. But far be it for them to undertake a legitimate self-assessment of their policies and ideas. They are instead engaging in kabuki theater while standing in front of government agencies, screaming their opposition to everything good and just generally making fools of themselves. The agencies that they have chosen for their performance art are telling, are they not?
No, I think she's
the
white.
Department of Education, a $270 billion woke monstrosity that has presided over the steady and unrelenting decline of public education. And USAID, a $50 billion anti-American purveyor of ideology so toxic that even the bureaucrats who worked there knew they had to hide their programs so that they could continue to fund such things as transgender comic books in Peru, so-called sex change operations in Guatemala, and anti-Israeli rappers. By now, everyone has heard about the crazy things USAID and other bloated and unnecessary bureaucracies have spent our money on, and we are rightly infuriated. But there is more to this story than bureaucrats and leftists attempting to out-crazy each other, and it is critical that we understand the full picture, in part to ensure accountability, but to also understand how these actions, this overwhelming misdirection of assets, this radical anti-humanist agenda has weakened us here at home and allowed our so-called political leaders to ignore their primary responsibility to our citizens. In short, this obsession with pushing the woke agenda has real-world consequences and has caused real-life suffering. The way that I often describe it is that a government that does things that it should not be doing becomes incapable of doing those things that it should. what we can describe as the social and economic reality of opportunity costs. And it is this phenomena that I, as the chairwoman of the House Anti-Woke Caucus, want to make sure people understand. We are not just dealing with stupid comic books and radical anti-American leftist policies. We are also dealing with an obsession that has become so all-consuming to those on the other side that the toll in human suffering and property destruction cannot be ignored. As a devastating example, let's look at the recent California wildfires. The cause and magnitude of those fires cannot be written off as an act of nature, because that is not what happened. Rather, a substantial number of fires in California are started by arsonists and homeless encampments, and that appears to be the case in terms of this recent conflagration. Even setting aside the cause of the fires, however, this catastrophe was years in the making, with resource management, overregulation, and failed water policies all finding their roots in a fixation on climate change and global warming. Ah, yes, with Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass deciding that the threat of a 1 to 2 degree change in temperatures 100 years from now warrants whatever suffering we may come about today. Let's start with the radical environmentalist decisions for the last several decades to fight every effort to undertake proper, effective, and safe forest and range management practices and to implement better fire protection policies. In fact, one such organization fought to block a wildfire prevention project near the Pacific Palisades to protect a shrub called the Broughton's milk vetch. We can thank this group for their efforts to protect this shrub, although such protections were clearly only transitory since they also burned in the November fires. But this is not an isolated situation, and we have watched it play out year after year in Western states, as the so-called experts and environmentalists would rather our forests, our prairies, and our homes burn to the ground.
For the record, she's full-fledged American European. She just got a little brown in her, a little light tan, or should I say.
Then allow us to implement common sense and much needed treatment techniques to prevent these catastrophes from happening in the first place. Did you know that in 2020, Gavin Newsom vetoed a fire mitigation bill that had been passed by both houses of the Democrat-controlled California legislature? That bill provided funding for vegetation management to maintain defensible space around structures, reduce flammable material, reduce fire risk, and harden evacuation routes. In his veto message, Governor Newsom exposed his moral corruption by stating that any efforts to fireproof California could not take precedence over his plan to replace single-family homes with affordable housing and multifamily units. I could spend hours regaling you with the many ways in which radical environmentalism and the fear-mongering surrounding our ever-changing and healthy climate has destroyed our natural and human environment, but I think you get the gist. In short, in the name of climate change, in the name of our environment, and in an effort to burnish their elitist bona fides, these people have largely destroyed the very things that they claim to hold dear, with their policies and actions being responsible for spewing more carbon and pollutants into the atmosphere than our collective humanity could in hundreds of years. And that is why we must expose them for the frauds that they are. Charlatans who prove time and time again that they know nothing about the environment, climate, resource management, how to build strong, vibrant, and resilient communities, or human nature. But like so many dictators before them, believe that they are the experts who are entitled to micromanage our lives, mandate and restrict our mode of travel, control our food supply, and shove us into 15-minute cities and multifamily homes. Now, it is often easy to make fun of people like Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, Kamala Harris, Al Gore, John Kerry, and others, but these people have caused and will continue to cause real human suffering unless we stop them. And one tool that we have is to expose the true cost of their woke ideology. But it isn't just failed environmental policies that are to blame. We must also call out the entire DEI industry as being one of the many culprits resulting in the death and destruction that we have suffered. First, as I mentioned earlier, California's wildfire problem is largely man-made, with the homeless population and arsonists being responsible for well over 50% of all of the fires. All in the name of being equitable and inclusive, you see, personal and community responsibility are relics of the past when it comes to modern day California. And nothing epitomizes that more than in allowing the homeless to literally run your cities into the ground and when they so choose to burn them down. Second, DEI is not only insidious because of what it means in practice, but in the fact that it allows politicians and bureaucrats to divert our precious resources from where they should be focused to pet projects that have nothing to do with carrying out the functions of government. The stories from California are legion of millions of dollars being spent on DEI workshops and training, of hiring based on race, sex, sexual orientation, and intersectionality, rather than on whether the individual could physically do the job. And the outcome? Empty reservoirs, broken down fire trucks, air-sucking fire hydrants, no evacuation routes, and not enough firefighters. DEI is a disastrous concept in theory and wholly destructive in practice. It undermines faith in our institutions and allows unelected and unaccountable bureaucrats to redirect hundreds of billions of dollars into programs that we don't want, don't need, and that ultimately destroy everything that we hold dear.
And
fortunately, we now have a political leader in President Trump who understands how destructive these environmental policies.
So, speaking of Stephen A. Smith,
we're only 1 month into Trump's presidency, and Democrats are ripping out their hair. Clooney plays cool guys in the movies, but Trump's got them all stressed out. The Times says, quote, George Clooney has been sneaking outside to smoke. I had to get better at inhaling, he said. I got outside so the kids don't see and smoke a little bit. And he plans to switch to herbal cigarettes. George was the face of the Biden coup, but he insists there's blood on the media's hands. Quote, Biden abdicated his responsibility by hiding his incapacities. And the media, in many ways, dropped the ball. The media covered for Biden and ushered in the return of the king. And they're very mad.
Trump has never really wanted to be president. He actually has always wanted to be king. Right now, what we're seeing is he's waving his scepter, his king scepter.
Sonny better get it together. The Post says the ABC bosses fired 9 staffers on The View, told the ladies to dial back the Trump hate.
Oh.
There's a real us versus the world vibe going on right now, and congressional Democrats aren't siding with us.
The fact that I'm rooting for Canada and I'm rooting for Mexico a lot is really wild, but they are really the ones that are speaking truth to power right now.
Okay, well, Jasmine's doubling down on crazy. The other half of the party is trying to get it back on track. This week, Mayor Pete told a panel that DEI is dumb and it's turning people off. Sonny Hostin heard that and blew a gasket.
Of course.
So do you agree with him that DEI initiatives drove voters to Trump? And what else can be done to make sure everyone is represented on an even playing field?
You know what I think, and I like
what do you think,
I like Pete, of course, but I think he got that so wrong, and I think it was so tone deaf, considering
Which
what's
part?
going on. All of it. I thought all of it was tone deaf, because what happens is when from 1776 to 1965. You have basically white men in charge of everything, right? Women, people of color, we're left out of just equality of opportunity, that sort of thing.
Well, it's been months since the election, and the Democrats are still clawing each other's eyes out. This fracture runs deep. It's not healing anytime soon. Half the party's plotting a new way forward, and the other half's doubling down on woke. They're not even fighting for important policies that Democrat voters care about. It's all superficial DEI and trans stuff. That's basically irrelevant, and it's practically illegal now. And when the party's too busy fighting each other, they can't fight for voters, and they can't fight Trump. The left needs new leadership. Stephen A. Smith said the party's in such bad shape, even he's being talked about as a candidate. But James Carville told him to stick to sports.
Stephen A., you me before you start running your mouth off about politics, a topic of which you really don't know anything about. So, Stephen A., keep up your on sports. I enjoy it. I like it, but don't make a fool of yourself anymore and talking about politics.
Ooh. Attacking Stephen A is crazy. He's like one of the hottest talents in America and probably one of our top trash talkers. Stephen A heard the Raging Cajuns message loud and clear, fired right back.
But if you really, really think, James Carville, about what I said, you've been saying the exact same things. I saw you on Fox News. I saw you on CNN. I saw you on your podcast. Where the hell you think I got some of the stuff from? Is what I said really the problem? Or is it the fact that some novice who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the wall when it comes to politics is resonating in the political stratosphere more than you? And if you're going to mention my name, can we cut out the profanity?
Fox News contributor Joe Concha joins us now. So Carville versus Stephen A. How's it going so far?
It's kind of like the way Michael Tyson and Michael Spinks, when they fought each other, about 91 seconds in, pretty much over.
It's over.
Stephen A. is Mike Tyson in this scenario. James Carville predicted that Hillary Clinton would win in 2016 in a landslide. Said that Kamala Harris would win in the last election. So as far as his advice, I'm not sure that it's been relevant since 1992 when he ran Bill Clinton's campaign.
What about Mayor Pete versus The View? I didn't see that coming.
No. Look, Mayor Pete he has his eye on 2028. Yeah. Right? He realizes that DEI is where politicians go to DIE. So now he's pivoting towards the center because he's basically like the ChatGPT candidate. You could program him to say whatever you want as long as it's polling well. So that's what Pete is thinking about at this point. I have to go to the center if I'm going to beat J.D. Vance or whoever the Republican nominee may be. Could be Donald Trump for all that.
How would you advise these Democrats? They still don't understand why they lost. I mean, you heard the lady from Maine, the governor, say she's going to sue Trump in court to keep boys playing sports against girls.
Yeah, great strategy. That is an 80-20 issue at this point. 80 support biological men not competing against women in sports. She said, I'll see you in court. So she's taken the 20 side at this point. You cannot underestimate just how dire the situation is for the Democratic Party right now. As in like, oh crap, I'm on the Epstein client list as a Reward Club's member, kind of dire. Quinnipiac poll out today, Jesse. 22% approve of the Democratic Party, 68% disapprove. They are 46 points underwater. So that's like say hi to Jack Dawson next to the Titanic, kind of underwater at this point.
Oh, wow.
And the problem is they're trying to attack the Terminator to bureaucracy in terms of Donald Trump with the rhetorical version of a BB gun. And the reason is that the stage before crazy is helplessness. And they feel helpless right now because they don't have the White House, don't have the Senate, don't have the House, don't have the Supreme Court. Ideologically, that's 6-3. In theory, at this point, more Republicans are governors of states right now than Democrats. So James Carville, at this point, when he says the party has no power, he is right about that. But look at the top polling candidates, another poll out today. The top three are now Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, and Tim Walz. All right. That's not exactly Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and A.J. Brown.
I see what you did there.
That's the problem there.
Thank you. I mean, so much has happened. You forget the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Right, exactly.
Wow.
2 weeks ago.
That's good to remember. Thank you for bringing that up. I really appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
You too, sir.
They are a hot mess, them Dems. They are a hot mess. Have a little fun.
Here we are again with the morons in CNN and a segment on Doja's cut. CNN newswoman Pamela Brown, the hot one on the left, who's supposed to know the news, really showed her ignorance when she didn't know who Sam Brinton is. Anyone who watches this show knows who Sam Brinton is. Roll a montage on Sam Brinton. Sam Brinton, one of Biden's first non-binary officials, still has a job, but he's on leave, or them's on leave, whatever, after allegedly stealing a woman's suitcase from baggage claim. Biden administration official and part-time Sinead O'Connor impersonator Sam Brinton allegedly wheeling a stolen suitcase through the Las Vegas airport. A non-binary Baldy was named Assistant Secretary of Spent Fuel Disposition, handling the nation's nuclear waste disposal. But after looking at him, the only part of that title that fits is secretary. Former federal government official Sam Brinton has been fired after multiple arrests for swiping luggage at airports. Police say if you recognize the clothes Brinton wore as your own, Get a new stylist. Well, I think we found the. I think Brinton is the new Joe Rogan of the left. I mean, they're both bald, but if you're a news anchor at CNN, I guess you overlooked anything that revealed the incompetence and sheer insanity of the Biden administration, including a cross-dressing kleptomaniac Biden administration nuclear official, a nuclear official. Roll it, Fred.
The government is trying to claw back several employees who oversaw nuclear weapons.
You talk about nuclear secrets. You had a person who was in charge of nuclear secrets, a man who dressed up as a woman, would go into the airport and steal women's luggage, was overseeing those nuclear secrets under the Biden administration. And I never heard y'all say a peep about that. Again, man.
I don't know anything about that. I'll be transparent.
Elon Musk. You need to look it up.
Look it up. Don't do that. Do that on your home computer because if you Google cross-dressing non-binary puppy play on your work computer, you'll get a visit from HR. Trust me. I do love how Pamela says, I don't know anything about that. I'll be transparent. It's like, lady, that goes without saying. Right. And it should be the new motto for CNN. We know nothing, but at least it's transparent. I mean, Wolf Blitzer is turning over in his grave. He's not dead. He just likes to sleep in graves.
Really too soon.
Yeah, it isn't too soon. It really is too soon. Emily, this kind of I think this reveals what kind of bubble the media lives in. This story is a huge story because this guy was dealing with nuclear secrets and was a freaking nut job.
That's the thing. It was covered so widely. You're right. Look, at the end of the day, I don't even commend I don't know anything about that to be transparent, because all that does is underscore that they've been patting themselves on the back as the fact finders, right? They were fact checking every time Trump opened his mouth. With what and how? We know that they're blatantly serving as a propagandist and apologist for the last administration, and now we expect to believe them. I mean, that's why the ratings are so low. That's why Jim Acosta's unemployed. But to me, it just underscores, if you want facts, obviously don't ever go to CNN.
Yes, you come here for the facts.
That's right.
That's our motto. Come here for the facts, but stay for the sex appeal. Hey, Jeff, it is kind of interesting how they presented all these kind of irrational and improbable hoaxes. Mm-hmm. Trump said, drink bleach, all that.
Hold on. All right, so let me ask y'all a question. Those of y'all who are here, seriously. All right, you see this setup? How they got the couch, but they got, the two separate chairs. Here's what I was thinking. Check me out. This is what I was thinking about doing this summer. All right. I wanted to have the chair, but I wanted to do the couch right here, or maybe a 3-panel segment where I moderate and I have a Democrat on one side and the conservative on the other. I was thinking about doing a type of studio setting this summer, something like that. Or maybe I should do, the chair and then the, couch here and the couch on the other side. So, and have maybe 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans, or maybe a Republican and maybe another chair here for an independent, but then again, I'm the independent. So, all right, so 2 couches and a chair, 2 for Republicans, 2 for Democrats, and then myself as the independent. What do y'all think about that? Let me know. Give me y'all opinions in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. If I was to do something like that, would that be, you think that'd be cool? Because I'm trying to grow the show. All right. Trying to grow the podcast or whatever. So it's just an idea that I was kicking around.
Seeing how they presented all these kind of irrational and improbable hoaxes. Mm-hmm. Trump said, drink bleach, all that crap. And then they ignore one of the most insane scandals, which is true.
Yeah.
If they wanted something interesting, here it is.
Right. They don't want to touch on any of that stuff. And I'm jealous of how short their memory is.
Yeah.
I wish I could forget about that bozo, and I can't.
Yes.
Haunts my dreams, that Sam Brinton.
Yeah.
Why do all the hot ones have baggage? You know?
That was funny.
How did they hire him? Okay, a guy, he's got a mustache. He comes in a dress.
Yep.
How do you hire that person to protect nuclear secrets?
They're unelected, by the way.
Yeah.
What they're trying to do what Disney did. That's what those 4 years were. If we hire someone that is in some sort of group that is unfair to criticize, right? Like Star Wars on Disney. If they make it woke enough, if you don't like it, they say it's because it's woke. That's why you didn't like it. That's what they try to do with everybody on their whole thing. Get a trans person to be in charge of nuclear. Get this lady who can barely speak to speak on behalf of the White House. And if anyone criticizes her, you must be racist. It's just that was their whole strategy for everything. I'm surprised he didn't get pardoned by Biden. How was he not on the list?
By the way, not a he, an it. Sage, it is a good point that, like, you know, you're in, let's say you're interviewing this person.
Yes.
And you have to weigh your short-term career possibilities that you could get in trouble by HR if you say, I think this person is mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't, like, so I will just hire this person and put our nuclear secrets in a vulnerable position because at least my job will be here for 2 years, 3 years instead of a month because I'll get in trouble. I'll be charged with like some kind of discriminatory practice.
All in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion. When I look at it, well, I think it's they.
Yeah.
It's a they?
It's a they.
It's a they.
We
There
are
go.
many.
First of all, I'm bitter because the red lip is better than mine. And we worked hard on this today, number one. I will never forget that video of they pulling Jeff's luggage through the airport like that. It was quite impressive. And I believe it happened on 3 different occasions with almost $10,000 worth of luggage. And they has failed to be punished in any way. I don't think there's any prison time happening, right? But the point is, first of all, as a former anchor for a very long time, more than I'd like to admit, if you don't know something, let's not admit it on live TV.
Right.
I don't know, just go along with it. Don't say, I'm not aware of that. And in the name of transparency, first of all, that's our word. You guys don't know what transparency is.
Do you know what you do if you don't know when somebody's saying, you just go, exactly.
God.
Yes, well, like that guy, Sam, exactly. You know, Joe, it's kind of do you give her credit for saying she didn't know, but it just tells you everything about CNN.
Bad move, Greg. I always pretend I know everyone that someone's talking about. I've learned that lesson the hard way when I'm confronted with a former lover I've seduced.
That happens, does that happen frequently with you, Joe?
All the time, Greg.
Yeah.
When you travel as much as I do, you've got some baggage of a different kind.
That is true.
I'll tell you what's fascinating about this whole story. It's like the whole media is upset about, people getting access to information. And he's making the point, well, Sam Brinton had a lot of information and maybe he wasn't, the most qualified person to be in charge of that. But to me, this is very similar what they're doing with DOJ to what they do with abortion. They don't want to talk about what's really happening. So they try to make it about privacy, Yeah.
They're
like, hey, what are you doing in that room? Killing a baby? And the left's like, don't you ever knock?
That reminds me of my only abortion joke. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
You'll never know.
Oh my God.
What? That's a great joke. Up next, stick around to see Mark Hamill's pants fall down.
Yeah, so all right, we'll do one more because I am zonked. We'll pick it up tomorrow.
Democrat Congresswoman AOC joining federal workers this week, rallying against President Trump and Elon Musk cutting government waste.
We have a sworn duty to this nation to resist oligarchy, including any billionaire that tries to undermine our Constitution. He thinks he's got a bank account with a lot of zeros in it, that it makes him some kind of super citizen. I don't think so.
Says the woman who has a lot of zeros in her bank account that makes her think that she's some sort of super citizen as she sits here with a mic at a rally fighting for illegals.
Outkick host Tomi Lahren joins us now with her reaction. Hey, Tommy.
Great to see you, Ainsley. I think AOC honestly would go anywhere that there was a camera, but I'll tell you, it's really hard to garner the sympathy of most Americans out there. When I never saw AOC protesting in the streets or so enthusiastic about those who had to close their businesses forcibly during COVID, those that had to choose between employment and a vaccine that they didn't want during COVID, or the thousands of people in my home state of South Dakota that instantly lost their jobs on the Keystone XL pipeline when President Biden closed that project within hours of being in office. I never saw her too enthusiastic or disgruntled then. So please, AOC, spare me.
Yeah, but I bet she'll spend that $5,000 check that Doge might release to her, and many of those progressives will do the same. This is what was surprising to us. Mayor Pete, he came out looking more like a moderate. Listen to this.
If we were more serious about the actual values and not caught up in vocabularies and trying to cater to everybody only in terms of their particular slice of combinations of identities versus the shared project, things like diversity would be actually an example of how we reach out beyond our traditional coalition.
He said that
this from a guy who has seen some of the worst transportation disasters. I mean, what was the train disaster in Ohio? Bruh, stop. Those people, that area is destroyed for years. New Palestine, Ohio, destroyed for years. Shut your mouth, bruh.
Democrats were too heavy-handed, basically. And there's an article in the AP that says Mayor Pete might weigh running a Senate or even for president. So we'll have to see about that. But do they not have anyone else, Tommy?
Well, they really don't. But I'll tell you this, Mayor Pete is smarter than most Democrats. At least he gets it that they have a messaging problem and a messenger problem. But I would say beware, folks, because it wasn't too long ago that a candidate Biden stood on a stage with a bunch of radical Democrats and preached to be a moderate. And we saw how that turned out. So it's great that he's recognizing the writing on the wall. I don't necessarily trust it. And if Mayor Pete is all they have to win back male voters and to win young people, I think we're in a pretty good spot over on the Republican side.
Okay, thank you so much. You can watch new episodes of one.
Anyway, all right, so peep this out. I know I meant to show this. So this is breaking. The president of Congo just offered the United States ownership of his country's minerals to entice President Trump to put an end to the war backed by Rwanda. Congo holds more than half the world's cobalt and coltan. They also have substantial deposits of gold, copper, tin, lithium, etc. China currently has a considerable influence in Congo's mineral sector, and before them, it was the Europeans. The United States is also one of the most mineral-rich countries in the world, with more reserves being discovered frequently. It's unclear whether President Trump would want a deal like this, but owning some of their minerals in exchange for security is at least far better than what we currently get for protecting Europe, which is nothing. How about that? Uh-oh. All right, let's get out of here, folks. I will catch y'all tomorrow, 9 o'clock. Peace.
He must have given up, thrown in the towel, abandoned his sad little masquerade. I finally got to him. The power of the press triumphs.